Yeah. That's how it should be, right? Maybe. So I saw that. Oh, they it's closed. I see the opening. I tried looking it up yesterday. Okay. Yes, you go. It's what 14 days. Yeah.
Hey guys, we will tell the kind of cheese for you. You haven't opened it yet.
Okay.
I'm Ryan. Okay. Yeah. What's your,
I'm with IBA.
okay. Nice. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Hi, Ryan. I'm Lane Slaughter.
Lanes?
Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How's it going? Ken Wagner. Ken? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Greg Burgess. Hi. Meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Some shit. Right? That's not, I was like, oh, I heard that. Angela. Someone's mic is on.
Like on.
It's not me. Oh, that's very hot.
No, your mic's on.
I'm not at the meeting.
Nothing.
Yeah. So like, all this stuff, so. Somebody got.
Yeah, normally we get, and I can't find any new variants.
Yeah, you gotta go on. I'm almost afraid to go out. Yeah, go back. Go badly. And if you go all the way through variance page, for some reason.
Man,
can't
Big
do it
David,
like it
Jason
used to
here.
be.
Yeah.
Like, brought my computer, but I mean.
Yeah. Fireworks or, I said, Big Day when Jason Shelley's here.
I saw Mike's email saying, well, he won't be able to be here.
Might want to go to IDHS, fire prevention lane, and then go in through that
I
way.
remember doing it.
Thoughts on computers either. Fire prevention, safety. All right, you did bring your, yes, you'll have to sign in, you have to search for the public Wi-Fi. Oh, Jim can help you also, but sign into the public Wi-Fi and then.
Like it's the first day of
college
or something.
It should pop up. Usually that. Probably Hopper.
I got that copy, so they want password.
Yeah.
No, you shouldn't have. The DHS.
Just brings it right up.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you no longer in that.
Indiana Public.
Yeah, call advice.
There you go. Oh, you did it, but you did it. See? Hell, I'm a better teacher. than
You are, I'm telling you.
Just got the DHS and
I don't know.
get on the variances.
So that's just an extra line.
I lost it. I have no idea.
I know.
Spots just kind of. I don't remember who he's doing what.
That happened. DHS variance is what I typically put in there.
Yeah, this needs to be.
Meeting minutes from last month, we asked for all. Yeah, text on my.
Cute.
Well, me too. Wait till my son comes home.
That was. Yeah, and it just depends on what you want to do. You gotta
Steps worse than
So
I
we
can.
you can look at your variances here, the variances. We can go to boards and commissions. And then go down to meeting materials. You can click on that. That's just gonna give you a zoom so everybody can zoom in so you can see them. But if you keep going down, you can go to meeting materials. A little farther.
Hey, Mary, looks like we need to let people in to the meeting.
A minute ago. April 9th.
I know.
It's just IDHS trying to make these determinations on these
Yeah,
variances.
then
I know.
you can look up here to see the agenda. Whichever.
That's what I got.
Yes, you got that. Okay. And then.
Screenshot of the building. Click on the map and zoom in on the building.
You-
Click the camera
That's it.
button, capture, and download.
I do a lot of work.
You wanna
We need to ask them where we added
You
occupants,
want to get into variances?
Can you mute
the
the
one and the two.
people?
Hold on.
General.
Yeah.
Those warm rooms, didn't see anybody. And he was passionate about it.
Yep.
Passionate about it.
Yeah,
I said,
I would
no,
have like
I
3
do.
screens up.
IDA,
So-
so take that over.
If you add another screen.
No more commission.
Oh, I can see. I mean, there's a lot of. It's as
Do
commissioners.
something, IDH variance. Gotcha.
She's our state senator. Shoot, chat.
Size. And we just want to get to variances down here.
On it.
So we'll go down a little bit farther.
I just smile and shake my head.
This will give you so you can hop back and forth a little farther, I think. Where's? And then we'll go down, we're gonna
Down to, boy, I see.
do the search for variances, a little farther.
Golden eyes, black and white.
Go down this way, and see where it's happening. Okay, variance applications.
And there's always interpretation. Way person seeking a variance.
And then I think I should probably
Variance is written.
voting on the minutes from last month.
Yeah.
The time we get to-
Yeah, since we're here for the minutes.
Yeah,
I would abstain from that. And then
Oh, shit.
we're gonna go to the ones that are before.
And especially when the code book contradicts itself. So it's just a search. That's really good.
I know. I know.
And that'll bring you down to what we're gonna hear today. I think the top two were tabled from last time. But you can hear them. And then a little farther down will be the ones that we're gonna hear today. And then obviously there's all the stuff that's on them. So you can pull those up to see their plans or whatever they have or any kind of letters or anything that go along with those.
Big outfits, CRS, Ryan, nationwide.
Those are what we're-
Multinational.
Okay.
And they were the engineer record. And I'm digging through good rock, to get really good rock to put these foundations on. And I've got re-steel in these columns that are just ridiculous. And I've got 24 number 11s and a 24 by 24 column. You can't get that in there. You know, it's impossible.
Yeah.
I understand this. Well, UBC rewrote the code. They used the Z factor earthquake. They used
Everybody ready?
84.
Yep.
Trying to get him logged in here. We're ready. Are we on, ready to go? All right,
Now, if you did.
so let's get started. Welcome to the Indiana Fire Prevention Building Variance Commission. Have a roll call. Oh. It's green. You guys hear me? No?
I don't see any of that.
That's on.
Microphones.
We can hear you online.
Okay. I guess I'll just speak up a little bit louder. Can you guys hear me now? I can talk pretty loud if I need to. So right before we take roll call, I do want to do a couple things here real quick. Before we start roll call is introduce Trevor Hale. He is now with us. He is our one of our attorneys. So he will be with us at the meetings from now on. And then we also have a new member, Ryan Kennedy. Yep. Who is now with us as well. So we'll go ahead and do a roll call.
Greg Burgess,
Here.
Logan Cook,
Here.
Todd Height,
Present.
James Mura,
Present.
Bucky Olele, Michael Paterino, Lane Slaughter,
Here.
Kenneth Wagner,
Here.
Brian Kennedy,
Here.
Joe Blanc.
Thank you. And Mr. Paterino and Ms. Olele both said that they would be a little late.
We got an email recently from Mike saying that he isn't.
Oh, I didn't see that. I read it last night from him when he thought he'd be here on 10:30 or 11. Is he not going to be here today then?
No.
I have not seen it. Okay.
5:30, you know.
Okay. So yeah. Shut my phones off here. Okay, so moving forward, we'll move on to our March minutes.
I submitted a few comments to Mary. And to summarize, I added I wanted to make sure that the discussion we had about HB 1003 and soliciting proposals from DHS was more explicitly included in the minutes. And then for variance 25-1252, I wanted to include some summary of our discussion about the reasons that, a structural engineer needed to be involved, which was omitted from the description of our discussion. So those were, I think, the only two comments.
I have one note on the table variance 251125. Says the proponent had requested the variance be tabled until the March 26th commission meeting. I assume since this is the March 26th minutes that was an error.
Yell at us. You can't really hear back here.
Is this better? Okay.
Yeah, speak like directly into the mic, like you're giving a little kiss to little babies.
All right, can you hear us now? Or could you hear me now with the mic? Okay, so I guess you have to get him right next to you.
We will project better.
Okay, thank you. Anything else in the minutes?
If there's if there's nothing else, motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second.
First and second.
We're all here, so we
Yeah,
don't.
we have anybody online as of now, so.
Iron Man.
Everybody in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. To IDHS variance determinations report. Everybody had a chance to take a look at that? Yeah, you got it. Any discussion on the determinations report? We'll move on. Next will be IDHS commission proposal. I know we were going to wait until Mr. Paterino was here, but if he is not going to make it.
Yeah, it sounds like he's not coming, so I think we keep the agenda as is.
Yeah. So that would be next. IDHS has given us a Fire Prevention Building Safety Commission proposal on how they would like to act on variance requests and schedule meetings in the future. Has everyone had an opportunity to take a look at that? And then is there discussion?
Is IDHS gonna present the proposal?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
John Whittingham, the IDHS General Counsel. So at the last meeting, it was asked that we prepare a proposal for what we see kind of as the future of fire prevention building safety. We're looking at how it will work after the commission goes away, which we have a timeline, July 1st, 2027. So we kind of put together a couple points that we think would be pertinent for the commission to think about going forward. So we are proposing that we're gonna make the decisions on all variances unless there's some type of issue we feel that the commission would be better suited at responding to. We need to prepare for a world after the commission and make sure that we have appropriate staffing levels and the staff gets used to making those decisions on their own. We are suggesting that the commission start scheduling quarterly meetings here on out. Right now we meet every month. Usually that's because most of the variances need to be acted on. Meeting quarterly would kind of prevent any, efficiency when it comes to the variances. But since we're proposing that we start acting on all those, quarterly meetings would probably be sufficient. That's the statutory requirement. For rulemaking, we're suggesting that rulemaking be the focus of this body. The cutoff basically for practicality is going to be December 31st at when the rulemaking process in the state of Indiana is at most efficient. You are lucky to get 6 months from a rule being submitted to OMB. But I mean, you got to have all the drafts and you got to have votes by the commission before that. But from getting submitted, you are looking at a good timeline at 6 months. So the rules get frozen in place on June 30th, 2027, according to House Bill 1003. So to get those rules in place, we would need to get them moving before December 31st, 2026. So we suggest that if there's any rules that the board wants or the commission wants to work on, that we get those in motion before December 31st, 2026. We can't start any new building codes because we're currently working on getting the fire and building code to you guys to vote on, and it will not be in place before July 2026 this year. So there's a prohibition that you can only do 3 a year. The electrical code is going to a public hearing April 16th. I don't see that one being in place before July 2026 either. So practically, can't do any more building codes for the time that this body is in existence. But there are other codes that can be looked at, that we could get proposals from the board. You guys can craft the rules as you would like them to be. And then those can be what we first submit as our legislative report and our request for the rules to be changed. Because the process now with House Bill 1003 going into effect is, instead of the regular rulemaking process for the state, the rules will be promulgated by the department and submitted as a legislative report, and basically they'll be put into a bill each year for the rules that will be changed. So if the rest of the time this body is together, if you have proposals you want to make for all of those codes, now's the time to get those submitted and in writing and changed so that we can have those ready to go when it's time for us to start submitting those legislative.
Okay, so a few things on that. So one, I realize we'll go to number one first, and then everybody can speak on what we spoke on of number one and then move on from there. So, so with the staff hearing it in the future and not having the public's input, how will the public, or how can the public have input in the future if they want to be able to speak to someone about what's going to be heard? And then also, I know that it was a long time standing that we as AHJs and or code counselors, architects, whatnot, would receive letters from the state stating that, yes, you were, and I know that sometimes I get those that are denied, but the ones that would come to us to actually come right to like the AHJ to say that this was approved and here are the conditions, because I know I don't get those now from the state. So if something's being heard and we're not at the meeting, I'm not at the meeting here to know that it was approved or denied, because obviously we won't have a meeting any more in the future. How will I get that letter? Will I get that letter addressed to the AHJ, building and fire officials, to let us know that this was approved and here are the conditions, or this was denied?
That's something we can work on doing.
Okay.
Do you want it to be just the commission members specifically, or are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about, so once a variance gets heard in the future, like any of the ones today, so the ones today, I mean, obviously we have the public that's invited, and any AHJ can come, or any code personnel can come. But in the future, we won't have a public forum.
Okay.
And so if something gets submitted, how do I know that it was approved or denied? And what do I know was negotiated on?
Okay.
To say, like with the tents, because the tents have kind of become kind of popular. I know that there were a bunch of those put on today. I mean, we're not hearing them, but there were a bunch for today. And there are a lot of different things that were proposed that they have to do. But there are a lot of people that don't know where to look, and HJ wise. So are we going to get letters like we used to 15 years ago or 20 years ago? I don't know if everybody out in the Ed might be the only one that might remember, but Craig might be.
Just a quick. They used to be the Ed Red Sink, Cartier Consultants. It used to be that with those letters would go out regardless of whether it went to the hearing or not. And it would copy the local building official and the local fire official. At some point, they dropped off the local fire official and building official.
Correct.
And now, like for me, if I've got a variance that I submitted and the agency approves it, they may or may not have exchanged emails with me, or, there's maybe been a little bit of dialogue, or sometimes none at all. And I'll get the notice that, hey, your variance got approved. And it'll go to me, the owner, and the designer, and that's it. If it's a variance that's heard during the commission hearing, we don't get anything.
Correct.
So, I mean, I know it got approved, but I have to, if I always forget, because I'll have a designer client, they'll say, hey, where's the letter for the approval? And I'm sorry, I forgot, guys. So I have to go fish it off the website so I know where to find it. A lot of people don't. It takes a little bit of a while to get in there and find it. But so that's kind of just what's happening right now. And so I think what you're saying is that, hey, it would be nice. What if we had letters that go out on every variance regardless of whether the agency approves it or whether the commission does, and copy the local building official and the fire official? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yeah, I would like to see that, especially with the commission going away.
Yeah.
And we won't have a public forum to hear
Yeah.
if it was approved or denied.
Yeah, so that's right now where, they've sort of changed it over time where the building official and the fire official, to my knowledge, are not copied on anything. Now, they are copied, so say, for example, I've done a few of these lately. You get a letter of proposed denial of the variance. Now, I've noticed that for some, those get copied to the building official and the fire official.
I have received a couple of those lately.
Yeah, so, but letters of approval, and I'm not sure if the letters of denial, I don't think those, the actual action letter, I don't think that that's being copied to the local building official or fire official at all.
No.
Under any circumstances, so I'm sorry, it is.
No.
So no, that's kind of my hope would be that DHS would send those out as they either approve or deny in the future.
Okay.
And that, the HJs, building and or fire, or whoever's supposed to get it, whether it's a
Yeah.
town person that, they may not have a local building official and it's someone from the town that gets it.
Yeah.
But I would like to see a letter go out to all of us to let us know that, hey, it was approved and here are the conditions. So that we have that and we can put that into our files. So that I know that, hey, 3 years or 5 years from now, this place did get a variance for something that we wrote them up for accidentally.
Yeah, and I was just talking to Justin a little bit because we are planning to switch software and over the next year before 2027, and part of that is going to be creating a system where people can sign up for alerts in their jurisdiction. I was just checking to make sure that we're still on track to do that. So that is part of this, is that we are working on creating a system where alerts will go out if you sign up for somebody, like if you sign up for your jurisdiction and we get a variance approved or denied, that alert will go out to you automatically. So.
Okay. And then, like I said, the other would be just, how would someone have a public forum to be able to address the body that's going to be hearing these in the future? I mean, I know that you send the letters along, and I have to say, sitting on both sides over the last 20 years that I've been doing this, I know that sitting on both sides like that, I know that I have had some passionate speeches on the other side to give to the commission on why I want something denied. Most of the time, that's what we're looking for, we're denials on that side. But I was just wondering how that's going to work, because I know that sometimes hearing these, I look at some of these sometimes and I go, oh yeah, I would deny that right away. They don't want to do something, and I'm thinking I would deny that. Yeah. But I know there have been times in here that I've heard people speak on their portion of it and why they need it approved, which had changed my mind, because I've come in here thinking, yeah, I look at these ahead of time and do some research, go, yeah, I'd probably deny that one. They should be able to do that, or they, whatever. But I'm just trying to figure out how in the future that will get heard to somebody. Because like I said, I know that there are times that I've sat up here thinking, and I know the committee back there, I know I've been questioned, why did you guys do that? And it's like, well, they changed my mind, because yeah, I would have probably denied that. But after hearing their appeal to us, I'm like, yeah, I could probably live with that.
Yeah. And I mean, we right now decision most of the parents as they are. But we are looking to be more responsive and more effective towards the public when it comes to those types of situations. So we are trying to.
Not that I want them all approved, because obviously anything with the sprinkler, man, I want the sprinklers there.
To Sean's point, we are advancing with a plan to have a new system in place for this legislation to affect for variances, hopefully plan review as well. And part of that, not just with the AHJs get notice for things in a jurisdiction, it would also, anybody can sign up for alert anytime the variance is filed there. And it would let them know if they were interested. They could submit comments. So that comment process is still open for anybody who wants to submit a comment. Those can be considered. Our internal group can also schedule staff or schedule Teams meetings, in-person meetings for any variance that he deems necessary for it as well.
Okay.
So those processes will still be available. And there's also going to be informal review processes where if somebody requests an informal review, we can bring all the parties in to comment on those and have discussions right the variance request.
Okay. So, I'm not going to belabor it, but to zoom back out, there's a transition period right now, where DHS is going to take over for all variances, and that process is going to look different than what the public and our consultants and all our building designers are used to.
It'll be, for the majority of them, it'll be the same because our teams act on the majority of variance requests that come in on a monthly basis.
True, but they also had the opportunity to come in front of us, which is being removed. And so by removing us from the process, that creates a new process in my view. And so you all are, this is a question, IDHS is going to have to develop a new process to account for this change, right? I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
So that's the whole intent of us trying to do this before the legislation goes into effect, so we can work through all those hurdles to make sure we have a good plan in place come July 1, 2027. And if we find we're having pitfalls or issues, then we always will, as it's at last resort, but if we're finding issues, we'll be sending variances to this body to ensure there's that opportunity.
And I think that's a responsible approach, so we can have like kind of this transition period where there's still kind of a, for lack of a better word, a safety net to fall back on. I'd like to just express a few concerns that I've heard already about where this might be going, that hopefully you are maybe aware of, and you might already be aware of, but to just state it here so that we can all be on the same page of what concerns there are about this new process and how we can modify the process so it addresses those concerns. So a few of the concerns I've heard about IDHS taking over for all variances and not having the opportunity to come in front of commission, and these are from practitioners. One is already been stated that there will seemingly be not an opportunity to have public input. So not only the proponent, but there might be other people affected by the variance that are not the building owners that may want to provide public input. That's one concern I've heard.
There is a process right now where anybody can provide public input through the written comment process. And so that will remain part of this, and there will be additional opportunities through whether we believe it is something that needs to be brought in for discussion through whether electronic or in person. So those will be different avenues that will be implemented. We need to work through when it's best to implement those for input, as not to the detriment of expediency, because also one of our goals is to be able to act on things quickly for folks, so we're not delaying projects.
So I hate saying that because I know you want to act on things quickly, but those written proposals that we can submit as an AHJ, or anybody can submit to say, hey, you know, even a neighbor, because I know we've seen that before where somebody wants to put fuel tanks, and the surrounding neighborhood doesn't want a fuel tank around it. So those submittals that we can send in. Is there a way, and luckily I'm here at the meeting, so I get to hear them even if I miss something, because I know sometimes those don't always come to me. Even with our names being on the website, those will get sent to an inspector, or they'll get sent to our chief, or they'll get sent to a different department. So I don't always get to hear those, or I don't always get to see those. I was just wondering if there's, I know we're trying to get this quick as possible. When you submit those written comments, can we get a little bit lengthier time? Because I know right now it's like 5 days. Can we get 10? Because if I'm on vacation and I'm gone somewhere, I don't get that. And then by the time I get back from vacation, it's like it's too late for me to submit a proposal or submit a written comment.
These might say that I'm wrong, but I believe you can submit them at any time. It's the 5 days is the deadline that it can't be acted on. So there's a waiting period after it's submitted to allow at least 5 days for any written comment. So there's at least a week before any written comments can be submitted. Doesn't mean you can submit them after the
I
fact.
misunderstood.
That's the statutory. So that's why it says that, because that's what's in statute. It says we have to delay 5 days before acting on a variance to allow for written comments. So that's the quickest that DHS could act on a variance, but not the last day somebody can submit comments. And then all those comments are then posted up in the variance database so everybody can see what they are. But that's the statutory.
Okay, I wasn't sure because
Yeah.
I know, and I probably made a mistake on that because I always assumed that once it was submitted or once it came onto the agenda that we saw it on the website or, on your website, that we only had the 5 days to submit our written comments. And I know that there have been times that it's like, yeah, I wasn't at work all week or I was out sick or whatever. And I didn't even see that it was even sent into us until a week later.
Correct me if I'm wrong. There's no prohibition against made after that 5 days for written comments. You got to act on something that there.
Once it makes the agenda, once the variance makes the agenda, then that's it.
For the commission, so if the commission were gonna act on it. But for the department, we can continue to accept those
I get
up until the day we act on it.
But the 5-day thing is still potentially problematic, to Jim's point. If he's just left for vacation and the variance is filed, it's true that the department can't act on it for 5 days, but there's nothing to prevent the department from acting on it on the 6th business day, and he may not be back by then.
That's my only thought is, at least give us 10 days instead of 5, because, hopefully we'd be back from the vacation by then, but because it might be like in Ed's case, there have been plenty of times that I've looked at things going, yeah, you know what, I would approve that. So I'll send an approval letter or maybe I would want to deny it and send something through. So.
I would just say, I think the soonest the agency will set a record now and then, and I'll get one in about 10 or 11 days, but I think that's about as quick, like that's for a slam dunk that nobody cares about. I get it in maybe 11 or 12 days usually. So I don't think that the requirement is to constrain the local official from issuing a statement. It's a constraint on the agency.
That's correct.
So I think you probably in reality have at least 10 days I've had several of them, and I don't say, oh, sorry, it was after 5 days, so, ignore this, I have to, whenever it comes in, I don't care if it's the day before I have to be at the hearing or whatever. I take those seriously because who knows why, they maybe didn't get, like you said, time to review it. But I don't think the way it's set up now is necessarily a constraint. It's just a start time for the agency to begin the process of reviewing it. And, because they don't review it until I've got some sitting in there and I've sitting there too long, but there are ones where the owner didn't sign. So, I got to go find, they say, well, send me another notice, and I get a bunch of those. So, the agency won't do anything until I get the owner and designer affirmations. So there's, in reality, they take longer than, no one's ever going to get a variance denial or approval in 5 days. That'll never happen. It's generally 11 or 12.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Like I said, this is all new, so trying to make sure that we do things right for everybody.
Yeah.
So we get that.
So if I may, I just got 4 more concerns I just want to express, and then I don't need an answer from them all right now because I understand you're going to take them into consideration as you're developing the process. So one was the public input, 2 was the AHJ involvement, which we've discussed already. 3 was even allowing for public input, there is still going to be something missing by not being able to have it in this public forum, because one of the advantages of having it in this public forum is that a practitioner can see how another proponent is pursuing a variance, and that opportunity to see how DHS is interpreting codes for future variances is, I think, a valuable thing for the public to understand. So that may be lost. So it's a little bit of a concern of when practitioners are thinking about submitting a variance, they want to have an idea of how have DHS or the commission been looking at it before, and this forum provides that, which is now not going to be available. So that's one concern. The fourth one is, again, just that ability to discuss the merits of a variance. A lot of data and written letters can be submitted, but having that discussion can find different points that are in favor or against a certain variance that I find valuable when a proponent is having a discussion about those merits and making sure that's not lost in the process. And then the final thing is, which it sounds like you're already taking steps for, is just a dissatisfaction with the online application format. I think that's going to become more critical because right now the application format is pretty restricting as far as what you can put in there and how much you can describe things. So having, if we're going to streamline it and not have as much opportunity to have discussions, having that application to be more free so that proponents can describe things better.
Yeah, that's a big push for us with this legislation. We're using this as momentum and to get other agencies and approvers on board with us spending the dollars to upgrade the system to make it more transparent, more user friendly. And so I don't have any concern that we won't have a new system before July 27. I think that's going to be a must, and we will move forward with that. That's going to be one of our main priorities over the next year.
Having worked in the agency for 10 years, starting in 2013, and having witnessed the attempt to update or improve or replace DFBS for at least 8 of those years and have it fail every time, I don't share your sanguine outlook.
No, we all share the same opinion that we do not like the system. We want to advance it, and we have had a lot of conversation recently about getting, we've had a lot of demos last few months about getting new systems in place. We've already seen mock-ups of them, and so I agree that we have not had success with software upgrades in the past, but I honestly believe it's going to be different this time, and we'll be able to advance. And that's our main goal. So,
Denise, do you have a comment?
It's interesting you brought that question up as far as being limited to what you can put in the boxes. Right now, it's limited to 2,000 characters. And I brought that up a couple of days ago. So with the new system coming in, there's not going to be a limit.
Great.
So that should help.
And hopefully question marks will be a character that can be used in the form. Well, let me, and I guess my final comment is, knowing what's going on and knowing how the legislature has voted and what's been enacted, I just want to say it from my perspective, if this is what's helpful with the IDHS and kind of helping with that transition, I'm in full support of trying to be collaborative with that over the next year and a couple months to help with that transition for the sake of the public and the sake of helping our proponents get the answers they need from DHS. So
And your employees.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Online, Mr. Cook, I believe.
Yeah, a couple things. Some of this is a long time ago in the discussion that's going on regarding local approval letters going out. With the technology you currently have in the system you already have the local building and fire official. Again, I don't know the inner workings of your technology, but that would seem to be a software change because all you're doing is hitting a button and the proponent, the owner, the architect, and the submitter automatically get it. Just not sure why the local building fire aren't
Yeah, it was our understanding that the system was sending notices out to whatever local building official or fire official was in the system. This was news to our variance team that it actually wasn't occurring in the system. Correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't got,
So
we haven't got letters for a number of
we
years.
may be able to do it with the system we currently have, and we'll have to investigate if there's some bug that's preventing it. But it was our understanding those notices were going out to whoever's email address was in the system.
I apologize for not being there. I didn't realize we were having this type of discussion, but Ed was correct. The local officials have not gotten these for at least a decade, I would say. It actually stopped a while ago when staff was told that they didn't have to do anything more than what statute told them to do. That was back in the mailing days with stamps and envelopes. The other thing too, Chairman Mora, that I do like the fact that you feel like you have a challenge with not getting comments in. I think Ed threw out 10 days. The problem we have on our end is clients are continually asking, when are we going to get an answer? And so I don't know what the reasonable time is to get local comments in. There almost seems like there needs to be a reasonable time and a deadline, because otherwise you could continue on and our clients are looking for answers that normally we used to have a deadline that we kind of knew by the time the deadline reached in 30 days, we'd have an answer. But in this situation that we've been underneath for the last, I don't know, 10 years again, it gets a little wonky as far as when we're going to get an exact answer. And the third thing, and I'll be done, is as Commissioner Cook said, we're losing some of the dynamics of interaction between people. And again, proponents are asking me, how can I present my case? And honestly, at this point in time, with staff being done everything within a room, it's difficult to communicate that in typewritten form. It takes longer because if there's questions from staff, then there's an email back, then we have to respond back, and then there's an email, so it takes a little bit longer. And back in the day, Ed will remember this, and so will some of the people at staff, there used to be a staff one-on-one meeting across the table where there would be an interchange between questions from staff and the variances. And those days worked, but going completely to all written format and no dialogue between two human beings is kind of inefficient, and we're kind of losing opportunities to make things more efficient and effective. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
Right, number two.
Yes.
But I'll just speak. My only comment on number two was just the logistics of if we have any variances that are tabled today and we don't have a meeting for another few months, how would we address that, or what's the plan there? And
Ideally,
get them all done today.
yes. But if not, I mean, that's what we kind of said. If the meeting need to be scheduled, it can always be scheduled. So if one's tabled, I mean, we just do it
Okay.
next month.
All right.
It's not like it's hard and fast.
Okay.
Quarterly is just the minimum, so.
My question about that is similar, but deals more with the rulemaking, considering how urgent it is now that we complete the rulemaking that's in process and any non-building code rulemaking that we choose to propose, to be able to coordinate effectively with whatever committees, subcommittees, subgroups are formed to consider those rules. Our quarterly meeting is going to be sufficient to do that, and maybe they would be, maybe they wouldn't. But who would determine when meetings are necessary and schedule them?
Yeah, so I know, I want to bring that up too. Mr. Burgess was, so just like our submittal for our fire and building code that's coming up, I know I want those to go before the commission for the May meeting so that we can get moving on those. So obviously we'd have to have a meeting with the commission in May so that we can get that addressed and get that voted on. My other point from there would be, drop it down to 3, or number 3, but, the proposed rules would be, yes, I'd like to be able to make sure that we have that meeting in May so that, so we are looking, so we kind of wait a little bit to jump on that, but just to say that, so we have completed the fire and building code, and need to get those, finalized. We're just waiting on a few points with the financials and hope to have those by the 22nd, and any other proposals that this commission wants to make to the fire and or building codes. I know I was making one more proposal that we'll get, that I've sent in already for to add to the fire code. So any proposals would have to be done by the 22nd so that we can get those out to the commission by the 29th of April for our perusal, and be able to then vote on pushing these fire and building codes forward to a public hearing in the Office of Management and Budget at our next meeting. So obviously we'd have to have a meeting in May, but you're right, Mr. Burgess, I would just wonder, so I had, from my speaking to someone previously, it was the thought that if it went to the commission, and the commission were to vote and say, yes, we're going to move forward with this, and it's going to move on to public hearings and then Office of Management and Budget. At that time, the commission signed off that we could then start a new subcommittee. And I know what you're looking at, but as far as legislation, but would we still be able to have a subcommittee for the next codes that we want to hear, knowing that it's going to change at some point, but at least we would have a good jump on that to say for the gas and mechanical, natural fuel gas and mechanical codes, at least to get those started with at least taking members for a subcommittee of subject matter experts to start to hear on those. So the commission, could we then vote on that to go, we're going to have these, or if the commission so chooses, we could do that ourselves.
Yeah, well,
and move forward with some of those codes, just meeting to make any proposals that we would like to see.
Yeah, we're getting the cart a little bit before the horse here about how many more meetings do we need and what subcommittees we need. I think the first question we need to ask is, what opinions does IDHS have of, in addition to the fire and building code and getting that kind of like across the finish line, which I think is our first priority.
Correct.
After that, what does IDHS have an opinion on what codes or rulemaking they would want us to prioritize, and then what's that list? And then if there's a list for that, then we can back into like, okay, do we need subcommittees and more meetings to accomplish those things before the end? That's the question I think we need to answer first before we start talking about how many more meetings and how many subcommittees we need.
I understand that, but I think it would be this commission, because we're the ones who said that we're going to push forward with the building, fire, and electrical. I think the commission, since it's still in place, could then bring forward to go, which codes do we want to hear next? Which ones do we deem the most?
I don't think we should be leading the charge here, because our end date is next July. And then after July of next year, IDHS takes the baton on anything that and they choose to move things forward, whether or not we like it. And so I would want to know how best we can serve IDHS over the next year and a couple months, so that we are setting them up for success after July of 2027. And if they succeed, then the state succeeds. That's how I'm.
I guess I was looking to try and set a subcommittee up for IDHS, because I don't know if these are these the members that hear the variances, are they the ones who are going to address any new codes and be the ones running with those? Or will this commission want to set up, or anybody, would you folks as IDHS want to set up a subcommittee of who your subject matter experts are going to be to address any new codes?
We're still working out that process.
Okay.
But it will be a more holistic
type
view of that situation, but we can work on getting a list for the next commission meeting.
Yeah, I mean, and until we kind of have your opinions on what priorities, I mean, I think right now I I hope I'm not making a leap to say, I think we're all in agreement that the fire and building code are our first priority, and then we do whatever we gotta do for the next few months to get that pushed forward. After that, it'd be nice to know what IDHS's opinion is on what do we take on next? And then when we know that, then we can say, okay, how many meetings is that gonna be? Do we need additional subcommittee help?
Yeah, after that, our plan, if we were able to advance those and get through the process, we would be evaluating them, submitting proposals to this body. Hey, we think we're able to get the GAR done, some changes to the GAR done before the cutoff. We'd like this body to help us push that forward.
Okay.
And then if we needed to look at those other building codes, to your point, Commissioner, I think that would be something the department would try to round up folks to start those discussions, but we would have to go through that other process to submit those, and we have some different statutory requirements with those. It does require that we have to bring in all interested stakeholders when we're doing those, and so it'd be a little different process than the subcommittee process, similar, but a little different. It'd be open to the public. We'd be hosting public meetings for it, taking public comments, but it'd be a little different than the subcommittee set up in the past.
And I guess what I just interpreted you might be envisioning is that process, those activities could be, us as people, but outside the commission itself. Okay, yeah, I got
So
you.
we would want to use the expertise of anybody on this body if we were looking at the code that involved your field and your
But
background.
it wouldn't necessarily be commission business at that point. I got you.
Just as a practical concern for any future commission meetings or subcommittee meetings that are necessary, just keep in mind that this facility is not exactly flexible when it comes to last minute scheduling.
So are you
Are some of the commissioners either? Some of us are retired, we're right at the threshold of sometimes having a forum, sometimes not. And if it's a willy-nilly schedule, then it's gonna make it harder for us to have quorum. So
For that reason, is there a suggestion to have scheduled meetings, but then at some point prior to the meeting, decide whether it's necessary? Okay. Yeah.
So like, it's not like they're not scheduled right now. They're all scheduled out, reserves, thing like that. That's.
Yeah,
It's up to you. I think it's up to the chairman of the commission if have the meeting.
So how, I guess how do we want to make that decision month to month? Do we just defer to Jim, or do we have a?
Well, I think right now,
Executive meeting?
I think we'd have to have a meeting in May and June, because we're going to try and push these forward to the commission in May. And so the commission members will then get to look at those and have any comments that they have. And I think that we would probably, even though we're going to push these to May and hopefully we get voted on, I think that we'll still have to deal with this, because there may be questions and answers that need to be done to a June meeting. And then at that point, then I think that we'll have to look at more of a schedule going, okay, are we going to have to meet for the next month or not?
Well, yeah, I think discussion you have each meeting.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do
So
that
at the end
each time we
at the
meet.
end
we
of each
go,
meeting, we can have
do
a
we need to meet
decision.
next month?
Yeah, okay. I like that.
Exactly. Thank
And again, your choice.
Yeah.
Just our proposal.
I get it. No, and I think it's very helpful. I read the proposal before, and I think that, yeah, and moving forward, we know what's happening with the commission. So I think that we need to be able to help your IDHS employees as much as possible moving forward. And that's kind of wanted to bring up as far as codes go to kind of put it out there that I think that there's members on the commission who would be helpful in some of your subcommittees, if that's what IDHS is going to have, or if you're going to decide to do it on your own. But I think that there has to be public input on those as well, so.
Even if we wanted to do it on our own, we would be prohibited.
Correct.
There's, legislation that says we need to involve all stakeholders, and we want the stakeholders involved in these.
Exactly. Okay, awesome. Any other questions?
No.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Moving forward. Rulemaking updates. And so I'll allude to Sean with the electrical code update committee.
Yeah, public hearing is April 16th, 9 a.m.
Your dive off, standing up for them.
Need the agenda. Need the agenda. And as I said before, with the building and the fire code updates, so we have documents to us and we want to have any further proposals by the commission. Those will be due by April 22nd to IDHS. Like I said, I know I've drafted one for haunted houses that was not in where we need to get done. And then those will be sent out to the commission and public by April 29th for our May 13th meeting. So if you have anything that you want to add, try to get that in before the 22nd this month. And any hiccups that could happen over the next couple of weeks that you foresee? I don't foresee any. Okay. We have been working diligently with IDHS on this and the attorneys. They have looked at everything. Trevor and Sean went through everything to look at it. And have made any kind of reworkings that need to be there. I know everything just got sent out to those members. Mr. Hawkins had a question, but I think that may have been addressed. So hopefully we'll get these, like I said, out to the commission by the 29th. But we have until the 22nd to get any proposals in that might still be out there. Okay. So those are our updates. Lift device, I don't know what's going on with the lift device update. Do you have anything on that, Sean? All right. Well, we will move on to. And sorry, the lift device, that's going to be dormant at this point. Okay. So we can probably take it off the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, moving on to the variance, we have no tabled variances, is that correct? Those are both heard. I know it's just about 10 o'clock. Does anyone want to take like a 5 or 10 minute break before we move on to the variances? Yeah. Okay, let's take it to about a 10-minute break. So put us back here about 5 after. Thanks. Okay. Brian?
this, and I do not have. I don't have access to the ASCM, I think that's what it is, code book. So I wasn't sure if this was the exact code that it was using or not. Sure it is. I think my report is this.
Forensic?
Head Rensink, RTM Consultants. Also have with me Mike Johnson and Cassie Aaron's there with the designer of record for the project, and also Aaron Hurd, thank you, sorry. Aaron is the designer for the civil engineer for the project. And so I'm going to make some general comments here at the beginning to sort of introduce it, but we've got people here that can answer questions, especially if there's some about the site. So this development is in the 100-year floodplain. It consists of 4 buildings, apartment buildings, with lower level garage on each one of those, and then a 440 square foot accessory dog wash building that's also addressed in the variance. So this is known in the flood control code as an elevated building. So all of the living space is above the floodplain. So the apartment units and all that space occupied by the public is above the floodplain. So they have, and this is, these are requirements that are in the ASSE, as Tony said, it's the ASSE standard. It's referenced in chapter 1612 in the building code, and it's, I'm not familiar with it either, so this has been an education. They do adopt it, and it duplicates a lot of the requirements in the Marion County Flood Control Code. So the building is completely, this wasn't a surprise to the design team going in. It's designed fully to the Marion County Flood Control Code, and we do meet the ASSE standard for flood control, with the exception of the 2 things that are before you with variance. The other thing I want to just say briefly is, before I get into the variances themselves, I mentioned that it's an elevated building. The flood control codes allow a parking garage to be in the floodplain, and they do require what's called wet floodproofing for the garages. So there's certain things you have to do to protect the utilities. You have to design the building for flood sources of water and so forth. But the garage in both the Marion County ordinance and in the ASSE standard, it allows that to be wet floodproof. So water's going to get into the garage and get it in your flood or 100-year flood. And then so the dry flood proofing is what's applied to other things. There's exceptions for parking garages, storage buildings, and I forget there's another accessory structure that's exempted. So from the dry flood proofing requirements, but we have these utility spaces that are enumerated in the variance omitted to that are located in the parking garage, at the parking garage level. Those are dry flood proof. And also the dog wash building is not exempt because it's not a storage building, even though it's a small accessory building, it's required to be dry flood proof. So the dry flood proofing is intended to, quote, make it substantially impermeable to water. So there's a certain standard that has to meet to protect the openings, the doors, and whatever other ways water can get in. It limits that pretty strictly to a certain small amount of water that can come in during a flood event into those spaces. So, and I guess I do have one more thing to say. The site itself, we are in the floodplain there associated with the White River. If you're familiar with Broad Ripple, it goes through there, and there's already For example, on the opposite side of this pond, and they call it Spirit Lake, where we're, these buildings are going in, there's some condos that were built there, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago now, probably 15 years ago. And then there's Oxbow, which goes into where the river bends, then down into Frogger, one back north. There's a housing development there. There is a levee that's constructed at the river all the way to protect all of those buildings. This is still in the floodplain, even with the levees there, because the drainage, and we can speak to this in as much detail as you want to, but I want to introduce that it's in the floodplain because the drainage would back up from the river, say on the road and, so forth there. So it will flood, but it's not the kind of flood where you have a high velocity or a flash flood or something like that. So it's not considered in the code. It talks about high risk areas where you could have a flash flood, mudslide, or high velocity flow, or of course, if it's a coastal area, it's none of that. It's not, so it's not considered a high risk because of any of those other factors. So it would be a relatively low rate of floodwater rise. And then also because of that, we have a lot of flood warning time. I used to live about, this was 15 or so years ago. I lived in a condo that was up the river about 1.5 miles from there. And I remember we had a similar situation with a pond called Lake 2. Indiana, some ponds are called lakes. I remember we would get a notice from the management that, hey, we're going to have a flood come through tomorrow and it's going to start rising. So we had all over the boat docks were on hinges and so forth, and it would rise, but it would be very slow over time. It would rise up quite a bit, and that development was just out of the floodplain. So it's that sort of thing. So it is just the setting of what the nature of the flood would be. So the variances then are for two issues that are in the ASSE standard that are not part of the Marion County Code. The first one is a requirement for emergency escape openings to be provided above the design flood elevation. And this applies to the dog wash building and for those utility spaces, including with the water room, electrical room, telecom rooms, and pool equipment room. There are also elevators in there. The elevators are actually addressed in the flood control code. I'm having to sign those. We will actually be providing some pumps for those, but those are not included as part of the variance because the code has requirements for those, and we will be meeting all of those requirements. So this is a requirement for emergency escape openings to be provided above the floodplain level. Well, it would actually be practically above the roof of almost of the dog water building. So it's just practical. And really the same thing applies to all these other small utility spaces. So this requirement is just completely impractical. These buildings, these areas won't be occupied. There's plenty of warning for a flood. Nobody's going to be in the dog wash building when the water starts rising. It's just an impractical requirement. It can't be met. Obviously, it's intended for things that would be a larger occupied building. Maybe the floodplain is 2 or 3 feet above the floor or something like that, or 4 feet at that. Then you would provide these. It'd be like an emergency escape opening that you would have, say, in a residential building, where you have those in sleeping rooms that need that sort of thing. So we're asking for a variance to not provide that. I think I've already said everything else, so I don't want to repeat everything I've said. They're not normally occupied. There is an emergency plan in place. We just believe that this is normally, because of the normally unoccupied nature of these areas involved, that non-compliance won't be adverse to public safety. So that's the first variance, Mr. Chairman. Would you like for me to just cover the second one also, or do you want to deliberate on the first one?
Go ahead with the second one.
So the second variance is for sump pumps to be provided. This is again for the ASSE standard. We're asking for a variance to not provide those. And again, it's just for these normally unoccupied spaces, small utility spaces, and for the dog wash building. It would really have practically no benefit whatsoever. For one, we do have, those areas are all dry flood proof. They're not occupied. We have the ability to, once the flood waters recede, that we have the ability to, let those drain out in some way. But having a sump pump really to start operating during the time of the flood is really, technically be done, but it's just really no benefit. So it's one of those things, we just don't think there's any benefit to it. And are asking for relief from that. It is going to be a six-figure number to provide those. It's a big project. I mean, and of course it's not, but it's just, or any benefit to it, I'd make a different argument, but honestly, that's just it. There's really a none. So I believe that I've covered everything. If there's questions about the site, again, we have a site plan on there, and we could have that explained if there's some questions about that, and try to provide enough other plan and exhibits and so forth, so you could see what's being addressed in the variance.
How high has the water gotten there? Do you have anything on that? How high the water level is?
The 100 year flood is
Oh, that's right. So how high it's gone, maybe Aaron can speak to that. Mike Johnson, Studio M Architecture. The current finished floor of the garage or basement is 815. The design, or sorry, 715. The design or the base flood is 721.7, and the ordinance requires us to protect 2 feet above that. So to 723.7.
Okay.
So we're 8.7 feet, 8 foot, 8 inches above. So how high it's actually gotten, I don't know that we can say, but what we're protecting to is almost 9 feet above the
And that's 100-year flood.
Yes.
Estimate.
I'm Aaron Hurd, civil and environmental consultant, civil engineer. We've all spent a lot of time with this property and talked to the neighbors across the pond. They actually have lower level basement or garages as well. They've indicated they've never seen the pond rise. Like there's a big lake pond there. They've never seen it rise out of its banks. We don't have any record of it reaching that level. There is like Ralph said, there's a levee along the White River that goes up to 727 or 725. So that contains the 100-year. Really what any floodwaters would be backing up water like in the storm sewer system. So it would slowly rise up. That's why it's considered a floodplain. The first levels are elevated 5 feet above that level. So like the first living level is 5 feet above. We've also worked with the electric company, elevating transformers, meters, all of that is above the 100-year level. So it's really the parking garage areas, which are structurally, designed to withstand that. And they have pretty large openings. So like if you were to imagine, like in a coastal area where there's a parking structure and a lot of water free flowing, if it would ever happen. So that's what it's designed for.
Okay. And talking about the dry, what's the, yeah, I'm not terribly familiar with that, but what systems or materials are being used to create that?
So the construction of the podium is concrete cast in place. Those rooms are being used as load bearing and shear. So those are also, all the walls are concrete cast in place. The doors into those are using system, I hate to say floodproofing.com because it sounds really generic, but if you go to floodproofing.com, they've got floodproof logs. The floodproofing logs are stored in a storage room. They're lining up for one person to install. The brackets are installed. Floodproofing logs go in from the outside and they stack up to that level. So the floodproofing logs are tested to withstand force and then provide the dry floodproofing. There's examples of the brackets being right up Westfield Boulevard. All those buildings are in floodplain. You can see those brackets outside doors throughout that area. And that's what similar same product.
So every time there's a flood warning, there's a building procedure that you have, the maintenance staff or whoever has to physically drop these things in. Okay.
Mentioned earlier that there are requirements for high risk areas. It has to be automatic.
Yeah.
But where you have something like this where it's long in advance when it's going to happen, so you're allowed to do these meetings.
And those flood logs essentially restrict people from getting into the places.
Yeah.
So that there won't be anybody in there once those procedures are implemented.
I think it's a procedure that's already been written, and I believe that's in there that the maintenance has to make sure no one's in there before they do that. So,
Are the maintenance personnel resident on site?
sorry,
Are the maintenance personnel resident on site?
I did not know that.
The requirement for the escape, I'm imagining the intent of that is, and correct me, but I'm imagining the intent is if you have like a 2-story home and residents, it starts flooding on the first floor and they go up to their second floor bedroom and then it keeps going and then they don't have a way to get out through the roof. That's what we're talking about. But the locations that this building would need it required are all 1 story, correct? They don't have 2 levels.
The spaces are on the first floor only.
And the spaces don't communicate with the second floor. So there's no way for them to go up a floor and then get trapped due to rising water. And the locations we're talking about are all highlighted in red on this flood protection plan.
They mentioned substantially impermeable in the ASC standard. The most amount of water considered is 4 inches and within 24 hours. Aaron and I were speaking earlier, like the water will come up and start receding within hours. So the water's not going to be 8 inches tall for days or weeks on end. It's so the amount of water and the risk of more than 4 inches of water getting in there, which is what is allowed, is minor.
Yeah.
Along with the minor chance of actually the higher flood happening, right? So,
And
yeah, right.
just to clarify, the flood logs also will be installed at the dog washing station, or okay. So that portion is physically barriered off for access once they're installed. Are those procedures submitted with the variance?
As part of the city of Indianapolis permitting process, we have a flood management plan that basically outlines procedures, notifications. And then those drawings that you have are part of that plan. So,
and those are on file with the city?
Yes.
Okay. I'm prepared to make a motion unless there's other questions.
Both A and B or just?
On both. Motion to approve A and B.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay. 260339 Drainage Solutions new facility in Greenfield.
This was previously approved by the commission. The request is to permit a dry fire hydrant 2,700 feet from the water source. As I said, this was previously approved back in 2023. This addition for a dry hydrant. And this was referred because we had not seen this before.
Melissa Tupper, RTM Consultants. So we requested the variance back in 2004 to not have hydrants for the facility. There's not any water nearby. When we were requesting the variance at that time, we were told that there may be water coming close to where this site was. So the commission granted the variance on it for a 2-year basis. Since then, there has been discussions with the water company, and there is no plan in the foreseeable future to bring water anywhere close to the site. So we are requesting the variance to permit a dry fire hydrant to be provided for the facility. It's nearly completed construction-wise, and I mean, that's really all they can do at this point.
So I see the fire marshal, Steve Kropasik from Greenfield Fire Territory. He has opposed the variance based that it does show a pond on the property. But they don't have any paperwork to prove that the pond would provide the appropriate water supply source. Is that correct?
Well, I mean, they haven't done anything yet because we haven't got the variance approved. So they haven't made any improvements to provide the dry hydrant.
Do you have any drawings that would show this pond and be able to show them that it would provide or hold a sufficient amount of water for a dry hydrant?
No, we did not go through that exercise. We were waiting to see if we got a variance before spending the money to create all the drawings to show that that was even an option. I mean, we've never been asked before to have that documentation when requesting a variance and offering to provide a dry hydrant. So it was not something we anticipated we would need for this variance.
Well, forgive me if a dry hydrant is installed, there's requirements that you'd have to meet to install it for that use, right? So if we grant a variance for a dry hydrant, you still have to design it and it has to meet certain requirements for capacity. Is that right?
Correct.
It's no different than them wanting a variance from a sprinkler system, showing the hardship of how much a sprinkler system would cost. They would show it's a design on that.
Well, they show you have a cost estimate in there of about $1 million for a hydrant being taken to the property, which is their claim for hardship, right, Melissa?
Yeah, so the cost is over $400,000 to get the hydrants. That's the hardship, and that's the reason for the variance. And before, when we got the variance, we weren't offering a dry hydrant because we thought, water would be coming. But now that we know that's not the case, the building is constructed and nearly complete, if not already complete by now. And so the only thing we can offer now is a dry hydrant, which would be designed to comply with code. We just had not gone through the exercise of actually doing all that documentation because we've never been asked to do that before on a hearing where we're offering to provide something.
This is James with Commercial Team Construction. We're the contractor building drainage solutions. When we had conversations with Steve last time about this, and he made it clear that he didn't want a dry hydrant. That's why the last variance, they gave a 2-year expecting water to come. And even this time, trying to speak with him, he said that they do not like the dry hydrants, and they don't want those at all. That eventually water's coming, they want us to connect to that. That's why we haven't, like Melissa said, gone through the exercise of spending any money to have drawing stuff done if he's telling us he's going to deny it anyway.
So what he had said was in his email correspondence that I saw was that they could not, without a variance, you couldn't just do a dry hydrant. So, I mean, while I understand he might be opposed, that's all they can offer at this point. And again, that was, we have to have a variance to do anything that doesn't comply with code. And there are other properties in Greenfield that are outside of, city limits that have dry hydrants. Variance was approved in 2023 for a project, and they provided a dry hydrant. So
do they have anything to hook up to a dry hydrant, or do suction with the fire department there?
We would convert the retention pond to a wet pond, make it 4 feet deeper. That way it would hold water, and that's where the dry hydrant would pull from their pond on site. We would have to convert it to a wet pond.
Okay. Are you comfortable with Steve's comment about having a stipulation that when a water supply is provided, that a fire hydrant will be installed on the property in the future?
Melissa, did you hear that?
yeah, I heard that. Is Terry on the line? She's
Unmute. Oh.
Yes, no, we agree to that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Yes, we would agree to hook into the actual water line once it's available.
And in the interim, you would have a pond? Because who knows how long it's going to take for you, because you don't have a timeline, right? As far as that goes.
Yeah, there is no timeline. So yes, we would agree to hook up once it's time. We would agree to design and install a dry hydrant in the meantime. We're not trying to circumvent anything. We're just trying to figure out how to get it done.
Yeah, I understand.
Chairman, what's the right code to reference for dry hydrants? Is it an NFPA?
Yes, you'd be looking, I'd have to look to see which one it is. If it's NFPA 24 or 5.
Let me look real quick.
I'm sorry?
I'll look real quick.
Or is it 14? I'm trying to remember which is maintenance and which is installation.
It says NFPA 1142 outlines the design, installation, and maintenance requirements for dry hydrants.
Okay. So I would want it designed to that, and as well as meeting with the Greenfield Fire Department to make sure that it's compliant with whatever appliances they have, that it would work with that.
Of course.
And that it meets their approval of how large the pond is and what the water retention would be on that.
You want to make the motion?
Yes. So I would make a motion to meet NFPA standards of 1142 and any other standards for installation and maintenance of dry hydrants, as well as meeting with the Greenfield Fire Territory to make sure that it is compliant with their trucks and appliances, and that they are comfortable with the size of the size and depth of the pond to make sure that it is compliant as far as to hold the amount of water that they would like to see.
Uh,
How can I reword that?
Yeah, well, that, I feel like, my opinion is that if they meet NFPA 1142 for the capacity requirements, that it would be,
I don't ever deal with dry hydrants. We don't have them in the city. We couldn't even hook up. I mean, we've had a couple in the past when we took over some areas and found that we were not able to hook up to the hydrants that they had there. So we had to have them install a hydrant so we could actually work with our.
I'm good with that, but the one I would strike is that the capacity should just meet NFPA 1142. Unless otherwise, they're. Oh, okay.
Capacity of the pond.
I just don't want to put the proponent in a position where, you know,
I would just say
the department asks for an unreasonable. Yeah, that needs, but I don't want the fire territory to put put an unrealistic capacity on so that they can't do it. You know what I'm saying? There should be a standard that the fire department should adhere to, as opposed to asking for, 1 million gallons or something that's unreasonable.
I'm sure there's a flow requirement, just like when you have to have a tank or something like that, for a sprinkler system. I'm sure I don't know, because I'm not familiar with the standard, but I would assume there's some sort of, you have to provide a flow for so long or something to that nature that would define
I'm sure that's in there. as well.
capacity.
So
if we just, and I'm not sure if the 1142 is the exact standard. So if we could just say installed per NFPA standards, and let me do a little more. When I quick Google searched it, it says 1142, but I can't, without a little more time, say for certain which NFPA standard. But if we just say installed per NFPA standards.
Yeah, per applicable NFPA standard.
So so it is 1142, standard on water supplies for suburban and rural firefighting, governs dry hydrant design. Also reliable year-round access to the water source.
Okay. So whichever way we want to word it.
So the system should be designed to flow a minimum of 1,000 gallons per minute.
Yeah.
At draft.
And if it meets those requirements and the fire department has the equipment that's compatible with the hydrant that's installed, those are the two stipulations, plus a stipulation that the proponent install a dry hydrant or a live hydrant when water supply is available.
Yes.
In the future.
Did you get all that?
We're good with all that.
Yeah. Trevor, did you get that as well?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, so it's been a first and second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. Next, 260340, Wally's Travel Center canopy in Whitestown.
Any other permanent homeland security. One travel center, so it's a very large gas station convenience store. The issue is that the convenience store, plus the area of the fueling canopy exceeds what the building code has a limit of an M occupancy. We're trying to get a variance to allow for them to exceed the area of M occupancy for their combination gas station convenience store. We sent us the commission just due to the size of the facility. We wouldn't see anything this large for M occupancy of this type. So we decided to give us the commission to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you just for having us here today and give us the opportunity to speak. Based on the previous discussions during this meeting today, I appreciate an open forum and the opportunity to be heard, have this discussion. It goes a long way. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For your service. As DHS mentioned,
Oh, I'm sorry, and your name?
Nathan Hale, I'm the Director of Construction Facilities for Wallace Travel Centers.
Thank you.
I'm also Rich Hayden, who is our Canopy representative.
Thank you.
DHS stated our case and the variance very clearly. We had attempted initially to list the canopy structure as U, which is not allowable. So DHS's permitting process forced us to make it mercantile. And our canopy does exceed the allowable building area for a Group M Type 2B under IBC 503.1. Our argument or our justification for variance is that the canopy structure is fully open on all sides, contains no enclosed or occupiable space. The building clearly does exceed the prescriptive allowable area limits, but the building or actual store building, which is not connected or attached in any way, shape, or form, is sprinkled and also meets all the proper M codes. I've got support of not only Tony Smith, the Whitestown Fire Marshal, Chief Westridge, and Robert Laughlin, who is the Whitestown Building Commissioner. Several other reasons that we feel this is valid. The canopy's open air, no walls, no chance for heat or smoke to accumulate, minimal combustible material. The canopy's primarily composed of steel construction. I mentioned the separation. Now we do have fuel systems that reside under that canopy with emergency shutoffs, breakaway connections, and obviously spill containment, which is all highly restricted and enforced by multiple other organizations, not just the NFPA. As well as the fact that in an operational structure, our building is open 24 hours a day. We have maintenance on site and on staff for that entire presence. There's cameras, lighting, and incredible visibility of the canopy area. For all those following reasons, we ask for this variance. And once again, I thank you for your consideration. Open for any questions you may have.
So, you mentioned that you at first interpreted the canopy to be a, what occupancy?
Depending upon what jurisdiction you're in or state, understanding and our architect's understanding is it would fall under a U classification, at which DHS informed us, and we weren't even allowed to select that. So we fell under the adjacent structure, which is our store building, which is mercantile, and we had to be subject to M.
Yeah. I mean, obviously your store is an M, but yeah, the canopy itself, being that it's not, that it's only that type of structure and there's no occupancy, that structure would be a miscellaneous. So yeah, it would be a U.
That was my point.
Yeah.
DHS.
Yeah.
I agree with.
Okay.
What, I guess, does DHS have a counterpoint to why they would have selected M? I'm just trying to see if, instead of granting a variance, if this is maybe just a misinterpretation.
Going under you.
I don't personally think that M was necessarily intended to cover canopies like this, but on the other hand, looking at you, both in the original model code language and in the amended language, I don't see anything there that discusses anything that resembles fueling canopies either. So I am not really sure. I mean, motor fuel dispensing facilities are M.
Yeah.
That would seem to be a better fit than what shows up in the code language under U.
We've been able to go under you. I believe it would have been fairly seamless and a quick process, very little issue, knowing that they wanted the adjacent structure to be below the same kind of lot. I have no issue with it. If we receive a variance, I do believe that we're in a good position to get one, based on the local support that we have. But in all fairness, you're setting the precedent. We are one of the first large travel centers that's coming to Indiana. There's going to be a couple more coming. So I think you're going to be hearing more variances for something similar, depending upon how this would get ruled upon.
Yeah, the precedent comment, every project's evaluated independently, so any decision we make now is not an indication of what decision will be made for the future ones.
I was going to say, I think one of the subsequent,
yeah, you would use this as yes,
Other stories that you may be.
we understand that's how the world works, but it is not a legally a precedent. But to your point, I want to be careful about how we decide on this one to make sure that we're thoughtful about what the code intends and not just misinterpreting it. So it might take a minute to have that discussion.
If there's any possibility it would be covered under one of the H categories.
I do have a quick question. You know, the facts in here state that requiring major structural redesign, additional fire resistance construction. Can you talk a little bit about that?
We would actually have to go in and strip all of the prime steel members that are currently erected, and fabricated on site, whether they're up or still just staged, and go back and fire treat them. And based upon some takeoffs and some cost estimates by our canopy contractor as well as our architect, we would be looking at approximately 7 figures to get that work done. Now, one of the other potentials based upon if we stay under M, with the fact that we exceed the 21,000 square foot, we could potentially sprinkle the canopy, which we've reached out to a couple of different sprinkler fitters and designers to start asking what is available here for us in an outside setting with a dry system. Would we need a pump? What kind of delay are we looking at? How many heads? But I've done nothing for it. I believe the first takeoff would have put us somewhere in the neighborhood of 400 to 500,000 to sprinkle the can.
And what's the total cost for the project?
The canopy as a whole, with all of the concrete piers, the structural members, the fascia, the signage, et cetera, is approximately $1.7 million. The project that it's adjacent to, with all of the site work improvement, the Wally subdivision, our store, everything else that we're doing with Whitestone community, approximately $42 million.
So percentage of all those other developments that you're talking about, the 42 million, that's all one project, right?
That would be us putting a new road in to connect the Albert S. White, which exit off 65, to the frontage road, which is still dedicated to the municipality. We put in a brand new 3,600, 4,000 plus or minus linear foot road with all of the necessary stormwater improvements, fire hydrant, water main, sanitary sewer, storm sewer. We do have 3 outlets that we still currently own. And I'm also including building construction on the Wally store, all of the equipment that goes into it, all the finishes and initial purchases required to open the store.
Okay.
The building typically runs you 25, 30. You look at the site, the subdivision, it's about another 10. And in all honesty, we've worked well with Whitestown. We've received roughly $3.25 million in TIP funds that will be allocated and paid back as we continue to finish public dedicated improvements, that those funds will get paid back due to a higher assessed value on the property due to our construction. And everyone just come to say, we're spending X amount without being upfront, that we're working with the community and trying to take advantage of it.
Do you know off the top of your head if the canopy complies with the design requirements in 406.7.2? 406.7 is motor fuel dispensing facilities, and then our canopy design requirements in 406.7.2. I'm not suggesting that it's something you aren't complying with. It looks like it talks about unobstructed height requirements and non-combustible materials, shielding from pumps, has information regarding any plastics that are covered by aluminum facings, things of that sort. If we knew that it complied fully with that section, that would ease my mind a bit about the overall area of the structure.
In our project fashion canopy. So our engineer, when they're designing the canopy, applies all the codes that you just referenced there to make sure that you're compliant with all of this.
Yeah.
So you submitted all those documentation, I believe, with the variance.
Correct, everything went in with our initial submittal to DHS, that would have been forwarded as part of the variance package back home to this commission.
I'm sorry, I may have missed it. Trying to read some of this, we go through, so. You are still under construction now?
Correct, we are. In regards to the canopy right now, the piers have been board and cured. The structural columns are upright and we have bolted together. Essentially, the balance of the beams we are holding on any further canopy construction until we would receive either a variance or a direction that we move forward.
Website says this will be the largest one you've ever built.
So the previous measure we've done in St. Louis County there in St. Louis called Fenton, Missouri. The canopy was 720 feet long. I think this is 20 feet longer than that canopy.
I was gonna say, I believe it's plus or minus 10 foot in either direction.
Yeah.
I, for some reason, thought that Indiana, we took out that center bay, so I think we actually made it a little bit shorter than Benton. I believe we're 704, 705 feet long here in Whitestown.
Yeah, Sean Callahan, the section chief for plan review. The reasoning we used M instead of U is because of the nature of the use underneath this canopy. Because you're buying fuel, it's part of the mercantile area, and it's close enough to the building that if you separated the uses, that you would have to start fireproofing. If you use it as one continuous building, even though they may not be connected, it better suited that. I mean, you could separate and then fire rate because of the proximity of the canopy to the other building. But it was just easier to have it combined as one building. Because
I understand that.
It's not connected, but it's very close. So that's the reasoning we went with the M instead of a U.
Okay.
U's typically are small constructions and private use, or to some extent. So we don't typically use U for this use.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, because I've never seen this. Obviously, most time when we get something, it's all considered an M occupancy as a convenience store with fueling stations.
Typically, fuel bays and fuel canopies are considered part of the regional structure, and so we tie it with it. And so they're always either a B or an M.
And most of
the issue here is just the size. Yeah, and that's yeah, the size of this.
And that's consistent. It took me a while to find it, but that's consistent with how the code comments on what an M occupancy is with self-service fueling.
Yeah, so we're building area, but doesn't increase the fire area. So that's the caveat that we have with this. So that's where this is falling, and this is why the variance is required. No problem.
Appreciate the explanation.
I guess just to reiterate, the canopy structure is non-combustible. You know, all of the other safety measures are in place.
If the canopy is made of carbon steel and then they finish it, it's aluminum composite material.
It's simply fuel pumps under it. There's no cashier station or anything like that.
No, simply dispensary.
Or this, what's,
And isn't that large because you have, are there more pumps underneath it or just to provide more protection, weather protection for the
Just to
occupant?
have a continuous run. We have 42 fueling dispensers and they're double sided. So that's 84 total fueling positions. And we'd like for people to, also for our maintenance staff to be able to stay undercover and protect from the weather, whether now by pressure washing or cleaning. But the canopy does not extend nor connect to the building structure itself. Just makes up a more pleasant experience for our guests. So,
I understand.
yeah, it's 78, I think, 65 on driveway, and then the 13 would be.
I understand where the state's coming from and I understand. But obviously it's not open air. Does that add to the occupant load? The open air, it's not like it's a venue, it's, and you're only gonna have one person at a pop, right?
There may be other occupants of vehicles that are under it. Well, they're refueling, but given the fact there's no fire area, there's no enclosure. I don't know, I'm not seeing a big risk to life safety here. And it could be that it simply has not come up before because we haven't had any of the very large scale fueling centers constructed here yet.
There's for anything else in Indiana that was a comparable canopy. I think the largest that we found anywhere was approximately 14,000 square foot. And a lot of you would think you go to like a truck stop or a fueling center like that, they seem to go and break their canopies up, or they have multiple directions. So they've never had to address something of the over 21,000 square foot.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, to comply with the area limits, the solution would be to basically break the canopy and add a little bit of space between it, which doesn't really, it seems like it's it has no bearing on the fire protection or life
Yeah,
safety.
it wouldn't really provide a benefit.
Yeah, so,
The sides are all still open, if
Yeah.
anything, it opens up the opportunity for weather to get under there.
Yeah.
And makes for a lesser experience for guests.
and arguably,
Some hyper differences with Whitestown as well on our signage and our badging.
Yeah.
We try to go higher than where it currently is at.
yeah. Yeah, for that reason, it seems like it, I mean, I can't think of another reason that put an area limit on it unless it was actually, connected or transmitting to the building.
Well, it looks like no matter how we feel about it, we're headed down an interesting new road. I'm going to go ahead and move to approve.
Second.
And a first and second to approve. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right, next is 260341, Northside High School Press Box, Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Existing structure. Question is to have used combustible materials for a press box that is classified as to be construction. The problem we have with this is we want to have an explanation on how the existing is removed and the new press box is set on the existing structure. We're sort of copies.
Derek from RTA Consultants. As explained, this is the replacement of the existing press box at Northside High School located in Fort Wayne. They've increased the size. The existing press box was approximately 220 square feet. New press box is 500 square feet. And with some additional decking around it, steel decking, not wood decking. The new press box and the basically prefabricated press box off-site is delivered and then they install on the crane. They've added additional load-bearing steel and stuff to the grandstand structure. That's how they're kind of incorporating and increasing the size. That's part of the structural engineering package for the project. All of that has been done through structural steel. It's all non-combustible. The only combustible construction is the press box unit itself. The existing press box unit as well had combustible construction involved with it. But the other thing that makes this kind of unique is the grandstands are attached to the overall school due to some additions to the school throughout the years. The grandstands is an athletic complex building is attached to the overall school. And it's construction type 2B for the school. Generally, this grandstand are separated, not attached to the school, but this is attached to the school. That was kind of one of the issues that they had in the plan review. Again, additional 260 square feet. It's less than 1% of the overall square footage of the school. Actually less than 0.5% of the overall square footage of the school.
And there's rating between the.
Yeah, so there's already a 1 hour rating, spray proof fireproofing. Under there, they're going to increase that underneath the press box to 2 hours. So there's going to be a 2 hour separation underneath the press box to the under the grandstand area. Under the grandstand is all enclosed space. They have like a mezzanine area, then below that, they have locker rooms and everything like that on the first floor.
And none of that's changing.
None of that's changing. Now, the only thing that's changed is additional structural components for the press box.
Catching up. What was combustible or what was the combustible components?
Deconstruction of the press box, putting the press box into all.
And that'll be 500 square feet.
Just 500 square feet total, yes.
So what, I'm confused, what materials is it being made out? It sounds like it's a modular.
It's a modular, yeah, it's a modular box, with,
Oh,
yeah, interior wood frame.
why didn't they think about like a cold form steel, something like this?
The unit they had previously ordered. Or
Oh,
they
they-
already had the unit.
Oh, okay. How much was the unit? And what, the building next to it, what's that again? That's a school? Is it a gymnasium or,
So the press box would kind of be equivalent to the third floor level of the school, which there's not a third floor right next to where the press box is, so we're kind of looking more at the roof section of the second floor area up over the gymnasium, I believe. I believe that would be the gymnasium area.
Yes.
What's up?
is, was this, is, maybe that I missed it, but is the school sprinkler?
School sprinklers, yes.
Did you consider like an extension of the sprinkler system to the, I don't know if that's required. I guess I'm kind of asking questions.
Go ahead. It's been discussed, the issue with that is it'd have to be a drive system that takes to be out there, that's not occupied, not provided conditioning year round, it's only conditioned when it's occupied.
Yeah.
But not.
Is it conditioned at all?
It will have conditioning, temporary conditioning.
And I'm sorry, yeah, so there's a, is it a 2 hour separation between the press box and the school then? Is that,
So on the underside of the grandstand seating where the press box is located, there will be a 2 hour separation, I guess.
What about the wall of the school there? Is it masonry or is it?
it's masonry.
Yeah.
The sprinkler system was added a few years ago. It was, I'm sorry?
You probably have some extensive knowledge on this.
Yeah, so the school was not sprinkled, and I dealt with Mr. Rensick on that school a long time ago. It's been a long time ago when they ended up fully sprinkling the school at that time when they did some remodels. And at that time, I think is when they extended outward to make it so that the school and the stadium touched one another when
Yeah, it's a big addition.
when it did not in the past. It was separate.
Will there be smoke and fire detection in the press box? And will it be connected to the school system? I think that's a minimum condition because you're essentially connecting this to the school, and if something were to happen there and nobody else knew about it, the worst, the kind of like situation could be that catches on fire, sparks fly over the roof's on fire, potentially. I mean, this is hypothetical, but and then there's not any detection of it.
That's no issue with smoke detection type and building firearms.
And then how's access controlled to that space? Just doors? Okay, because they got the stairs leading up to that little walkway or whatever, and
I believe that.
the top
I
part.
believe they can access. Yeah, no access to that press box, I believe, and then that's like a.
The observation deck.
Observation for.
And how's that restricted from access?
Staff access. Staff would have to allow them up there.
I'm just thinking of high schoolers, and a lot of them get adventurous. That'd be a prime spot to be adventurous, because then you have access to the roof too, potentially.
That press box has been there. I mean, has been there.
Yeah, it's better.
It's just now you're making it 500 instead of 220 square feet that it was, but press box has always been there, as well since they've added on to the school.
Yeah, but there's been a gap between the original press box and the building, which is now being infilled with metal decking and what looks like a, I don't know, 8-foot or 9-foot fence or something. And so what would have required somebody to jump, just 8 feet or whatever to the roof now is just a simple, climb of a fence. Which is not, fire, but it's more kind of security risk, I guess.
I'm not sure if you all can hear me, but there is a 10-foot non-climbable fence with gates at access to the press box.
Okay.
Karen, she's Karen Fisher, requirement comes along, architect on the project.
Okay. I guess I'd be prepared to make a motion to approve approve the variance with the condition that and correct me, Chairman, the NFPA 72 fire alarm system is provided for the press box and connected to the school's system.
Second that.
Yeah, smoke detection, yeah.
Smoke detection, NFPA 72 compliant and monitored by the school's fire alarm system. Then a person second on that? All those in favor, say aye.
Who is a second?
Aye.
Okay. Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Okay. Next, we're 260342.
That house has been divided up into 3 apartments. Now, this had a variance that was approved before for a 3D or by a 13R only for the first 4 units. Now, this variance is to request to use a 13B for the basement. The reason why I refer to this is why isn't the total building sprinkled? And so we refer to this on view.
Derek Coleman, RTM Consultants. As previously mentioned, there was a previous variance on this project, 250949 that was approved. That variance was to permit the entire structure to not be provided with a sprinkler and only a lower level being provided with the 13R. There were other conditions within that variance for that. This request is to allow the basement to be done with the 13D instead of the 13R as previously required by the previous variance. All the other conditions of the previous variance are still in place. They're still being planned to do that. In discussions with the sprinkler contractor, they have discovered that much more needs to be done in order to get a 13R system into the lower level. They were quoted, we read about 40 to 45,000 just for the interior work on a 13R. They just not include any underground upgrading of the water line to the house. This is a portion of Fort Wayne where the water lines are extremely old and, quite frankly, inadequate in this little area. There's still some lead piping in this area. The water lines are undersized for the our system. This area is what the water company, they've informed them. So there's also still potential, they don't even know if they would have to put the bill for increasing the water line in outside of the service to the house to incorporate a 13R system. And water need for it. They are able to build an ED system with what's provided. One of them is a 13D system, that's just the 13R system. They discovered the water capabilities in this area are not sufficient for a 13R system without significant upgrades. As I said, the cost for a 13R system inside the building only is about 40 to 45. Building at least double that, if not more, to replace water lines and water mains and underground piping that are going to the house as well. So the project cost for finishing out the lower level is approximately $120,000.
So we did discuss this at a previous meeting. So, and our take on it was initially it was told to our local building department that it was going to be a duplex. So it was to be built as a duplex. One of our inspectors just happened to take a look at it and see that there were actually 3 meters on the building. So they had made it a triplex. And the lower level, none of it was sprinkled at the time, but the 2 upper levels were completely finished, first and second floor. Beautiful house. They were completely finished and they were working on the lower level when we happened to come across it, realized that they were actually making it a triplex instead of a duplex. Was conditioned at that time. We did find that, met with them at the time. It was mentioned at that time, and we were okay with it being a 13D system at that time, with separation between the lower level and the first floor. So they put separation in between those levels to essentially make it a duplex separation, and then having another level underneath it. So there was separation. That's the way we were looking at, along with the Allen County Building Department, was going, okay, well, with the separation there and a 13D system, we would be okay with that. So it'd be like having a duplex on top of another structure with separation. When the variance was submitted, it was submitted with a 13R rather than the 13D that we had looked at initially, because we didn't think the 13R would work because of because we knew the area right there. Those are all really old, 100-year-old homes in that area or better. So we were okay with it being a 13D at the time, but when it came through as a 13R, and we thought, well, if they can make it a 13R, we'd do a 13R. So we are okay with it being a 13D system.
Basically, 2 is the middle of it.
Yeah, so.
So hearing that, motion to approve a 13D system as requested.
Second.
I second.
First and second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next is 260343 Morse Industrial Building 3, Egg Road, Noblesville.
Not sprinkled. Request to not provide a water supply for fire supply purposes. There's not a decision on this. Your returns are the fire hydrants that are there that are kind of close to the building, are they operable? We refer this on to you.
Edwin Sankar, Kim Consultants.
also have with me Frank Horton, he's the owner of the property. His family has owned this property, 30-acre area for quite a long time. Just a little bit of background on the property itself. It was annexed, it was originally in the county, was annexed into the city. It's probably 40 years ago. Okay, so it's a long time ago. It was annexed into the city, so it is part of Noblesville. The most of the almost all the buildings there were built prior. This is probably about the only new building we've had in the last 10 years or so. We got some warehouse. So they've got some self-storage and some small warehouses, things like that. Well, what happened is that they had a site plan approved that had 2 buildings on it. Prior to the ordinance that Noblesville adopted in about 2013 to require a fire flow, because the fire code just says as required by local ordinance. Well, Noblesville's got one. So this was why this is a surprise, is that the original building was this building was originally on a site plan along with the twin building next to it. It's actually going to be basically a duplicate of that building, design-wise and size and so forth, 2-story office building. So here we are. So this came up, the building was designed, and there has been a lot of investigation about different options available to get a water supply in its building. It's very difficult to do that. I guess, first of all, I will answer the question the staff had, that the fire hydrants that are, we think one is maybe about 600 feet. They tend to be Crystal Lake development, and those are functional and operational. They're on a water line that runs to that along the west side of Peg Road. So there are fire hydrants in that area, not within 400 feet. So that's the issue with the variance. So we've had, and it's a 6,120 square feet per floor office building. There was quite a long investigation by the site engineer to look at all the different options. There's been a lot of, and this has happened over now about 8 months or so of negotiation with Citizens Energy Group, who has the water now for Noblesville. And so you have that, and then you have the neighboring HOA with Crystal Lakes that we have to deal with, because the water would have to get at least adjoining their property. Trying to run something directly out of their property is totally a no-go. They wouldn't even, the HOA wouldn't even talk to us. There were actually like 7 different options with different pricing. Some of them had different abilities of even being feasible, and I didn't even present any of the other ones because they weren't even remotely feasible, because you had to get approval to the HOA and so on and so forth. So the solution that you have on the plan from the engineer runs about 1,440 lineal feet of underground that would completely do the existing water line that's in the adjoining neighborhood. Citizens Energy would not accept any other option. They initially talked about some of them, but once it got to their engineering people, it was, so they won't approve anything as a dead end line. They want this owner to pay for a water line that would go all the way around and connect up and make a loop with the existing line in the Crystal Lakes neighborhood. So the price we got all in is $548,550, and the project itself is about 1.8 as far as the building itself. So it's right at 30%. We think that's a significant cost. You know, it's not an exaggeration to say this project will not happen if they have to spend that kind of money, because it's just, there's no way to make the numbers work. So we're asking for this variance. Not provide, not provide that water supply. We do have 3 exterior exits from the first floor of the building and 2 exterior exits from the lower levels, kind of half in, half out, lower level. We've got a short travel distance by the fire extinguishers. There has been discussion with the Nolensville Fire Department. They're not in favor of the variance, but they also said they would not oppose the variance formally. I actually had a phone conversation earlier this week with Matt Mitchell, the fire chief there, and Luke Turner, the new fire marshal, took over for Darrell Cross. And we talked for about a half hour or so, and one of the questions I had for them, I mainly wanted to see, of course, where they were and just to get any more additional information. They said that if they have a fire in this area, they would get mutual aid from one of the couple of volunteer fire departments to the north that have tanker trucks, so they would have the ability to do that. And they do have the fire hydrants in the Crystal Lake neighborhood. We can't count that. Well, we can't tap off of what they have there, obviously, as I said. But if the fire department uses those hydrants, then nobody's going to stop them. They're probably about 600 feet, the closest one. So
Are those city hydrants or private hydrants?
Should be. It's off a public line. I'm not sure about that.
I just wonder, because if they're public?
Yeah, because that's a public street.
Okay, I just wasn't sure since it was with the HOA.
Yeah, no, I wasn't sure either. So that's basically it. There's a lot more that can be said probably in terms of the history and so forth. I tried to fill you in on some of the background on when I was here.
Drive-wise to those hydrants, how far is that?
As you drive it.
Yeah, I mean, we can't go
Probably
straight.
about 1,000 feet. Now they could shorten up, I don't know, 1,000 feet. If you had a driver, I guess.
Well, if you were gonna drive, you go to there's a fire hydrant at the entrance of Crystal Lake.
Okay.
So that would be a closer drive.
Yeah.
And that's probably 1,200 feet. Straight, that'd be a straight shot. But the problem with the one that's 600 feet, it's on the front of the houses. So we'd have to come through the backyard or do the loop and get the neighbors and everybody and they're just a shut.
And there's no fire hydrants on the east side of Hague, it looks like. Okay. With the school.
There are farther south at the middle school.
There's one at the middle school, but that's a different water company.
Oh, did you talk to them or I guess,
Other companies don't seem-
so the water company at the middle school is a different jurisdiction than your water company, which they'd have to play together to.
Right, and that's significantly further than the one at Dakota Drive.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
This one's in kind of a no man's land between Indiana American Water and Citizens Energy, and they don't play together.
What's the future plans? Do you own all this property here? Is that what I understood?
Own all the way to the woods there.
On the east side?
To the north where there's a big field.
Yeah.
They're planning a huge development right now. They're stuck. We have nothing to do with that, but that's gonna be commercial, residential. It's gonna be this.
In that big field?
Yes.
Okay.
So.
At like 206 and Hague?
Then we very much want to have a fire hydrant there.
Okay.
We can agree to a fire hydrant as soon as somebody brings water.
Yes, as soon as they can do it, well, we want to do it.
But we have absolutely no.
I mean, your building out of all that area is probably the lower risk one. I mean, well, I guess it has more occupancy, but.
The one that we're trying to build will be a twin sister to that one.
Yeah.
So we've already stubbed in all the utilities. It was kind of gonna be a phase 2 type deal. And in the middle of from phase 1 to phase 2, there's a new ordinance.
That requires a hydrant to be.
Right. Yeah,
Within.
that wasn't the case when we built the first one.
Yeah, Noblesville.
Are your buildings fire alarms? Do you have fire alarm systems in your buildings?
We don't, but we could we could.
I mean, because that would at least give your folks advance notice, realizing that the water protection is there to protect your buildings, but
We have a security system that I believe is a fire.
a security system can't be used as fire, so it has to be separate system, so it has to be a certified fire alarm, UL listed for fire and not
We
for.
did talk about this, so that's why we're on prepared to talk about it so quickly. And we did talk about this as a possibility. It wasn't talking, this wasn't discussed at all with the fire. You know, a lot of this discussion happened before I got involved. It wasn't discussed, that part of it, but I've been here, you know, I listed a whole bunch of variances that we've gotten here, and most of them are in the southwest part of Marion County, because they've got an area just like this that's out, no water. On some of those buildings, we did a fire alarm system with the idea that it would provide at least,
Some advanced notification.
Yeah.
To get the fire department there a little
you know,
quicker.
I was gonna suggest, detection in like the corridor and the main off, stair core on the front. That way we've got some detection in the building, so you're gonna get at least earlier warning. Right now, you know, without, it's small enough, it doesn't require a farm.
Exactly.
But we would be willing to offer a fire alarm system with limited detection, as I described.
I think I would want that.
And a fire alarm system is going to behoove you because it's going to give the fire department quicker notice to get there.
Both buildings, actually.
Yeah, obviously if they're going to attach and being that that's a public hydrant, even though it's over 1,000 square feet or 1,000 feet away, at least they'll be able to, they'll end up having to hook out. Now us,
They're not going
I
to be
know-
attached, are they?
No.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're just adjacent.
Yeah.
You'd have to have another engine show up there because they only carry about 1,000 feet of 5-inch hose to hook up to that hydrant. They'd have to put another hose.
Unless they went through the backyards.
Yeah.
And then they.
Typically, we don't like to drag 1,000 feet of hose through a backyard.
Well, now it's 600 feet.
Yeah, so even so, 5-inch hose is pretty hefty that carries you somebody's, rain riddled backyard through the mud, and they're not gonna like us very much for doing that as well. So we would want to drive that, so we'd be looking to hook up on the street and drive in that direction.
Provide the system with the detection that's described. We think that's a meaningful trade-off because the fire department, the longer to fight the fire, the quicker you get them there, the better off everybody is.
Correct.
How do you want that condition stated? Because you said limited
Say
detection.
a manual fire alarm system, A72, with detection in the corridors and stair core.
Corridors and let's say storage, corridors, stairwells, and public areas. Because you're not gonna have them in the office space, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have an office, but I would say the lobbies, like lobby corridor.
Lobby is basically, it's a 2-story space with this open stair. So that area, and then there's a corridor on the lower level. Can't remember, it's a lower level. Look here real quick.
Did you say you have a first floor and a lower level, correct?
Yes.
And they're both
Yeah.
over 6,000 square feet.
On the upper level has a corridor and then that front lobby space. And then the lower level has the bottom part of that lobby space. So with the stair, the bottom of the stairs. So we would provide detection in those areas.
Unless you would want to fully protect your buildings.
Well, I was thinking the furnace room, because we have about 8 furnaces in that. That would be a good place to have something.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can, and I know. Mr.
You can
West
always
is trying
go-
to figure that out, but I'm just saying you can go with a more of a compliant system to cover the areas that are needed that you think are, and that may be something that you want to sit down with Noblesville with their fire marshal and or whoever you use for a fire protection company to take a look and go, well, let's just cover the places that we need, as well as the corridor, the public lobby, and any mechanical rooms that you may have.
We can agree to that, at least for purpose of this motion, at least those spaces.
I'd like to look at the idea of doing both buildings, actually.
Yes.
Well, and I don't think you want that as our motion though, because then you're required.
I think it makes good sense.
Yeah, okay. All right. Motion to approve with the condition, with the conditions that when water service is available, you would install a hydrant in the future. And then 2, that the building will be supplied with a manual alarm system in accordance with NFPA 72 with limited detection at a minimum in the corridors,
Lobbies.
lobbies,
Mechanical rooms.
and mechanical rooms.
Yes.
2000,
Yes.
2010. Thank you.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we have a second? I'm sorry.
No,
I missed that.
I'd second the motion.
Okay. So all those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Very much. We appreciate it.
Just to note, Bucky Olaf joined the meeting.
Thank you. Okay. Next variance is 260358, Valparaiso Partners in Valparaiso, Indiana.
Attorney, so. Submitted a request not strictly under contractual agreement. This is sort of interesting subject where, the need of a sprinkler system underneath the entire building. But the roof literally sort of collapsed underneath itself. We're trying, they say they can't do it due to a structural issue. You never really seen something like this, where such an area just sort of not being able to be treated because of structural constraints based off of the collapsing of itself. So you brought this to the commission to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here in person or online from Valparaiso Partners? 260358? Anyone online from Valparaiso Partners? Hearing none.
Motion table.
Second.
First and second to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Yeah, I don't know if we can speak about it since they're not here, but I find this, with the retractable roof, I don't know. Trying to figure out how exactly to sprinkle a retractable roof. I've never looked at the stadiums.
Use garden hose.
I was gonna say, garden hose, not the one thing.
Yeah, if you remember, the RCA Dome had the.
Yeah, I was wondering.
They had
how
the,
did they do?
they had the,
Cannons. The
yeah,
water
basically
cannons.
water cannons. So, I mean, there's options, but it's tabled, so
Yeah, exactly.
we're wasting our time. With that, I guess, well, no, we'll talk at the end about the next meeting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Moving on. All right. Those are the end of our variances, new variances, industrialized business systems. UL LLC. Is there anything on that?
I think Brian's online. Yeah.
Yes, we have the request for UL LLC. They want to renew their third-party inspection program. I have no issues with that. It's an existing program, just a simple renewal.
Brian, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name's Ryan Weininger, interim deputy section chief of code enforcement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
First and second, all those in favor for UL LLC third-party inspection firm? Say
Aye.
Those opposed? Number 8, administrative reviews. Looks like there are none. Is that correct?
None? Well, there is one.
Metalworking lubricants?
The metalworking lubricants, they have a hearing scheduled April 23rd, but I think one of the parties just filed I think metalworking filed to postpone, so it hasn't been ruled on, but I don't think the hearing's gonna be April 23rd, and they're still working towards the settlement. That was the only update.
Thank you. Our next meeting, Wednesday, May 13th at 9 AM. I believe we should still have that. We're hoping to have, fire and building code updates and those sent to the commission, hopefully by the 29th of April, for their perusal, and hopefully we can, take a look at that and either, have some discussion and or voting on that at the time, as well as hearing this one that we just tabled.
Date is correct, May 13th.
Is that correct, Barry?
Yeah.
Yeah, barring a change in the delivery of the proposed codes and or I guess, and if this one table variance gets withdrawn, I agree that we meet in May.
To adjourn, or is there any further discussion on it? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yep.
What's that? No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all.